Hey bees, I'm Marie from Humblebee and Me, and I think this is probably going to end up being the last video that I film in this space before I move my setup, which will be happening later this afternoon actually. So that's rather exciting. So kind of in honor of the move, I thought today we would talk about stuff I am not taking with me from my DIY stash and supplies. So as I've been moving, I've been, given the opportunity, forced into going through everything and putting them in boxes and taking them to a new place and a new studio that I'm setting up, and I'm trying to be thoughtful about it. And as I've been going through everything, there's been some stuff where it's just like, you know what? I'm not going to take that stuff with me. So I thought I'd share it with you, maybe to inspire you to toss some similar items or to dissuade you from purchasing them in the first place. So I've been keeping copies of pretty much every bar of soap I made when I first got started. So I think this is the first bar of soap that I ever made. So it's from 2011. These are all from 2011, and you can tell that they're from 2011 because they're covered in DOS, or deadly orange spots. Not actually deadly, but they are a sure sign that the soap has spoiled. And I mean, that's not surprising. These bars of soap are like 7 years old. I'd kind of been keeping them as like a pot, like, hey, let's have a record of everything I've ever made. But if I keep copies of everything I've ever made, I'm going to soon die in things that I've made. And as neat as it is that this is the first soap that I've ever made, it's really it's not that great. I've improved a lot. So yeah, these soaps, they have gone bad. They don't smell like anything anymore. And yeah, I have pictures, I have notes. I don't need to keep the physical item that I'm never going to use. So I'm going to get rid of these. This one might be a bit controversial, but this is my bottle of Neem Oil, and it is still full up to here because I hate it. I'm sorry. I know a ton of people love Neem Oil and that it has all kinds of benefits and stuff, but you know what? So does cod liver oil, and I don't make myself eat that or use that either. I have put neem oil in a couple things, and really all you're trying to do, it feels like, when you put neem oil in something, is to try to make that final product not smell like ass. And even then, it usually, to my nose at least, you're just sort of like, oh, the ass is a nice bass note. It's at the end. I can smell some other things that are nice first. Ugh. I'm sorry, Neem Oil. I'm sure you have plenty of things to recommend you, but I am sick of trying to make you work in projects because you smell repugnant. So I got these empty pencils from TKB Trading when I was writing my book, Make It Up. I was thinking, how wonderful it would be to, especially in the pictures, be able to show homemade eyeliner and stuff in actual pencils. And these were on clearance with the notice to be discontinued from TKB when I bought them, and now I know why. So they're plastic, and they're really narrow, and so filling them presents a challenge. Sort of the best way that I found was to get a syringe and sort of fit it to size so you could stick it in the empty end and then suck the molten product up through them, and then you'd kind of have to maybe throw it in an ice bath or something to get it to, filling them was always a huge pain in the butt that I never really got the hang of. You had to make so much product to be able to kind of do that sucking thing to get it. It was just not good. And then because they're plastic, once you started sharpening them, I found that you got ridges of really sharp plastic in a product you intend to use around your eyes and your mouth, which also, so I can see why these were discontinued. So these are going in the recycling bin. They're bad. Early on in my DIYing, I bought these natural, quote unquote, natural-ish dyes from New Directions Aromatics, and then they discontinued them. So whenever I've tried to use them in blog posts, people can't get them, so that's always kind of a bummer, but they're just not really that great. The orange one always kind of had a bit of a spice, turmeric-y sort of note to it that wasn't really that great. They don't perform that well, the colors aren't that great, nobody else can buy them. I can't use them in most things, and I've barely used really much of any of them, which is kind of a bummer, but it's just not really that great. And also they're from 2011 and should probably be chucked on that alone. So I am getting rid of my collection of Infused oils just because I need to start fresh. I didn't date these. but I know they're old. And so I'm just going to take this opportunity to get rid of them and start fresh with fresh oils and using some better techniques that I have learned from Formula Botanica. So yeah, sorry guys, into the compost bin you go. You will be refreshed and reborn in my new place. On Singles Day, which is November 11th, which in North America is Remembrance Day, but in China is basically their Black Friday. It's the biggest shopping day of the year. I bought a bunch of stuff from AliExpress, and so one of the things that I bought was this like soap slicing kit thing, and I've used it maybe a couple times, and I'm not a big fan. It's a perfectly like well-made thing. It's even got a bit on the bottom so you can run your soap through these grooves and it'll bevel the edges. I like using a knife. I'm fine using a knife. Having this thing sitting around unused is just a waste of space. So I'm gonna probably donate this because yeah, it's not getting used. So this is Tessa Noir silk fiber, and it's like straight up silk fiber, and I bought this for making soap with, but it hasn't been hydrolyzed, which means it hasn't been modified so that it dissolves in water. And so I read people were like, oh yeah, just like leave it in your lye water and it will dissolve, but it never ever did for me. So I would put little lovely soft tufts of this in my lye water, and like this really is a very lovely fiber, and I think I'll probably try and find somebody who like spins yarn or something, because they might actually get a use out of this. But I'd put it in my lye water and I would leave it to like dissolve, and it wouldn't. And then I would get in there with my immersion blender, and then I just end up with a giant clump of lye soaked silk fibers wrapped around the spinning shaft and blade of my immersion blender. And so just sadly not a fan of this. When I do use silk in my soap, I use hydrolyzed silk, and it dissolves and it works brilliantly. So sorry, Tessa Noir, you are lovely and soft, but you clog up my stick blender. Something else that isn't coming with me is something I actually forgot that I had, so that's a pretty good reason to not bring it. But I found all these boxes in my basement of like odds and sods jars, like old pesto jars and things that didn't have lids that I thought maybe one day I'd find some, and just like those are going. New containers are inexpensive and they're clean, so you know that when you put your projects in them, they're not going to spoil faster because you've put them in something dirty. So yeah, I'm getting rid of my hoarding collection of gross old jars. All right, that is what is not making it into my boxes for this move. I'd love to hear about things that maybe you've decided to get rid of recently, moving or not, and things that maybe you're starting to think, I should probably get rid of that. Or maybe just ingredients that you hate working with and you're thinking, I don't want to get rid of that because, it's still useful, but like you hate it, right? Yeah, so thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe. Do remember to check out my blog. I've been blogging since 2011, whereas YouTube's quite a lot newer, so there's so much more stuff on my blog than there is here on YouTube. And yeah, I guess I will see you on the other side in my new studio setup. You probably won't really notice much of a difference, but I'm pretty excited to have that new space and to show it to you. So yeah, see you next time.